Hey,
Hey,
Mr. Kadish, how are we?
we're doing good.
We're
First
doing
time
good.
back for a whole new Saturday morning stream.
Yes.
We've
Welcome.
rebranded things.
We have definitely rebranded things a little bit. We changed the name from the Home Gang to the Saturday Morning Salty Nerd Podcast or the Saturday Morning SMP, whatever, you know, uh, S SMSMP. Maybe that might be a fun hashtag.
I'm
I
just
don't
calling it
know.
Salty Saturdays.
Salty Saturdays, yeah.
You want to tell
But
people why we made that choice to change things
why
up?
did we make that choice? Just to kind of keep our branding across all of our shows, I think, kind of consistent so that people know what exactly we're doing here. We are a Salty Nerd podcast show, and the Home Gang just kind of that name kind of I felt it didn't really like stick with the branding of the show. I mean, we all knew what it was and we all knew who we were, but I think it makes it easier for advertising and the show and stuff and making it more consistent across the board. And do you agree?
Yeah, I agree. And we're trying to go with like a Saturday morning cartoon theme.
Yeah.
A little retro type style. But this is going to be the show where it's kind of like our free-for-all. We're going to talk about like current news, stuff that's trending, things like that. So it just gives us a little bit more flexibility to kind of just talk about anything we want.
Everything that Salty doesn't like to talk about, right? So no, definitely a little more of our on topic, our more modern stuff that's kind of this like trending and everything right now. But you know what? We haven't done this for like a month. There's been a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, we took half of December off.
Yeah.
And went on vacation and came back, and now we're just now getting caught up with everything we need to be caught up on. I'm interviewing, or I should say I'm editing the interviews that we did from last month and trying to get those ready for release. And we've got our shows scheduled through February and all that good stuff. So it's slowly but surely getting back to business as usual. But unfortunately, Alex works on Saturdays, so he can't typically join us for these live streams. And Jude hates doing live streams, so she doesn't want to spend an hour doing hair and makeup just to appear on Saturday morning.
I totally get it. What you mean? She puts makeup and stuff on to make herself look presentable too. Yep. I need to start doing that. I look completely unpresentable right now. I don't even bother brushing my beard on Saturday mornings.
Jude spends a good hour before our recording sessions just getting pretty. So
yeah, I'm so glad I'm a dude. I don't.
I hear you.
Man,
I just put on a hat. I'm good to go.
I know. Put on a hat. We're good to go. We love Jude.
Yes.
So yes.
We also need to welcome everyone in the chat and let everyone know that if you want to support the show by giving us super chats or what have you, we will always prioritize reading your super chats if we're in the middle of a conversation or something like that. Correct. So don't be afraid to do that. And we have our first guest of the day, good old Tom Connors Jr. Joining us from Midnight's Edge.
Greetings. Good morning.
Hey,
friend
Tom.
of the show, personal friend. Always good to see him. How you doing, Tom?
I just woke up.
Well, Happy New Year.
Do you need some coffee, Tom?
Something like that.
Okay, whatever gets you going in the morning, I guess. So yes, I get it. Who's in the chat? Joker Voice is here. Zax is here. Spartan Flash Sentry. JT Gunter. Dust Sorcerer. Welcome, gentlemen. Welcome, everyone.
Play-Doh's in the chat too.
Play-Doh is here. Absolutely. Thank you for that amazing super chat yesterday. That was cool during the premiere of our Sword and Sorcery episode.
Yeah, we actually were surprised to see how good that video is doing for us. Tom, we did a whole show on Robert E. Howard characters, Solomon Kane, Cull the Conqueror, and Jason Momoa's Conan. And,
I'm surprised you didn't ask Andre on that one.
Well, it was one of those things. We recorded it last week, I want to say.
Yeah, we're about a week. All of our Friday shows we get recorded the prior Tuesday. So
yeah, during the day. I think Andre would have been asleep while we were recording it.
Depends on what time it was.
Yeah.
And I feel like you guys are always on Midnight's Edge with your like 8-hour-long marathon streams. So
Well, we only stream on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Actually.
Oh yeah, well, that's
but
all.
if you catch us on Tuesday, that means it's still the Monday show. So,
well, you also stream. You do Midnight's Edge in the morning, don't you?
that's what I mean. Yeah, Midnight's Edge in the mornings every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And then if I'm not too busy, we'll do Midnight's Edge After Dark on Tuesday and Thursday evenings.
You also got the toxic femininity thing, right?
Yep, and that's Monday night usually. Yeah, but I don't have to do a whole lot for that. Luckily, I mean,
Tom, let's be real here for a second, because I'll go through all the shows that I'm subscribed to, and you're on every single one of them.
Yeah, you're everywhere every day.
Surprisingly, not as much as I used to be, but yeah.
Oh, so let's get going here. What do we?
Oh, real quick.
Okay, yeah, do your thing.
JT Gunter asked, no salty. So Alex works on Saturdays, which is why he usually can't make the stream, but he has his own stream Monday nights, 9 p.m. Pacific. I guess that's midnight Eastern. We're doing Salty Nerd late night. So we're not doing Salty Nerd After Dark, which would be a trademark infringement on Midnight's Edge. But I
don't think we own that. Just we stole it from Playboy. So
yeah. So we do a Salty Nerd late night on Mondays, and that's Alex's stream.
You might want to be careful with that Eternals playing in the background there, though. Disney gonna get you.
Took care of that.
Yeah, Vader's like, fuck that movie. So like, yeah, we do the live stream on Monday, and that's where basically Alex, he chooses whatever topic he wants to talk about. It was going to be like a little interview show, but we had trouble getting guests that late at night. So we were just like, screw it. Let's just talk about whatever we want.
Like that time is about the time Andre would be getting up.
Yeah.
At like midnight roughly our time. But no, he's up during the day most of the day otherwise till about 5-6 o'clock our time.
And you know, Alex would do a bunch of work booking guests, and then they would flake on him at the last minute and stuff like that. So he was just like, you know what, screw it. I just want to.
I know what it's like. It's like herding cats, and you know, it never fails. You have something set up, and at the last minute, somebody always dips out, and it is what it is. So.
Yeah, he had some good guests on there, though. He had like Adam Krigler and Derek Pacifico, the homicide detective, and we were trying to get like paleontologists, like dinosaur experts and stuff like that, to come on. And,
he would love that, wouldn't he?
Yeah. But unfortunately, it was so much work, and it was.
I would love to ask one if you know, there were possibly dinosaurs that used nunchucks. I mean,
yeah. Speaking of a copyright infringement, I want you to see my I made this. Where is it? This one here. I made myself a Midnight's Edge button to put on.
Oh, neat.
So,
Vader's gotten a little button crazy.
I've got a little bit of a problem here right now.
You got a button maker?
He got a button maker, yeah.
I bought this, and I've gone a little nuts with it. So it's a little crazy. So, but I wanted to like pay a little homage to some of my favorite streamers and shows, and
that's awesome.
Be able to display some of our own things.
He has yet to hit the required 37 pieces of flair.
I'm getting close. I bet I'm getting close.
Then why don't you just make the requirement 37 pieces of flair?
I got to figure out who else is worthy to be on the hat.
I've noticed Office Space I quote almost daily.
Oh yeah, it's a very quotable movie.
It's gotten to that point now. It's almost daily.
Yeah. Oh, Matthew, did you?
I wouldn't say I've been missing it, Bob.
What do you do here?
What do you do here? Yes.
What the hell is wrong with you people?
We actually asked that of the cinematographer for C when we were interviewing. We're like, what do you do here?
I made that joke last night about Kathleen Kennedy. I think it was.
Well, we know what
Lucasfilm.
It just ruins everything.
So what is it that you actually do here? Well, you know, I decide what shows get made, and I make the shows, and
I get coffee.
You actually make the shows. Well, no, not actually make the shows, but
I oversee them. I'm a people.
So what
person.
is it you actually do here, Kathy?
She shows up, makes coffee. Yeah. So, goes to some meetings.
I'm a people person.
All right, Vader. So before we get going, we just want to give a quick shout out to one of our sponsors, which is good old Dragon Champions.
Dragon Champions.
Yes. So like for those of you who don't know, Vader and I have been playing this mobile game called Dragon Champions. It's kind of like a World of Warcraft style fantasy hero collector game. I've been playing it for years. It's a lot of fun.
I've been playing it for months.
My OCD, and basically they wanted to help support the podcast, and so we came up with some type of affiliate arrangement. So if you go to saltynerd.com/DC, you can download the game. It's free to play on both iPhone and Android. And basically, just go in there and you do your dailies, and you get to build up a roster of heroes and fight against other players. And there's PvE stuff and raids and all that good stuff.
Yeah, a lot of stuff to do.
If you go to the promo code section and type in Salty, promo code Salty, you get a bunch of free stuff to help you start your career in Dragon Champions. And it gives you like character shards and equipment and all types of goodies to buy new stuff.
It's fun.
And they just released a new Goblin Raid. So like you're fighting a bunch of goblins. And I go on every day. I play it all the time. And Jude hates the game because of that, because it takes attention away from her.
But you happen to play like more than one game in this genre. I think you play like 4 of them, right? Or something like that. 3. See, that's
I play Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. I play Marvel Strike Force, and I play Dragon Champions.
Oh, you're a madman.
But I think Dragon Champions is my favorite because it's easier to progress and you don't have to spend money in order to get like all the good stuff. So
Tom,
it's fun.
I'm willing to bet, Tom, that you don't have time to mess with games like this.
Not really. I'll do this much for you. Check out the good DC Dragon Champions now.
Yeah, so saltynerd.com/DC.
Yes.
Go there, check it out. They're a big supporter of the podcast. We want to help support them as well. So it basically it helps everyone when you sign up and play this game. So we appreciate the support.
DC stands for Diversity Comics now, but yeah.
Yes.
Ain't that the truth?
Yeah.
All right. So we have a bunch of topics that we're going to be talking about today, Matt Vader. But before we get started, we wanted to try out this new little news roundup thing where I just kind of go through some of the headlines that are going out there real quick to educate as well as entertain.
Do we need some music intro?
Probably, but I don't have anything queued
now
up.
live from the studio in Las Vegas, Nevada.
All right. So the big thing today that I saw is that Timothy Olyphant is returning for a Justified sequel series. And instead of being set in Kentucky, it's going to be set in Detroit. So if you liked Justified, which I loved that show, you're going to be getting more of it, which I think is pretty cool.
That sounds like they're already dealing with some problematic issues.
It's possible, but I loved the character of Raylan Givens. I thought Timothy Olyphant was badass in that role, and I can't wait to see more of him. Now we got, speaking of sequel series, we also got a Quantum Leap sequel series in the works, which is cool because it's not a reboot. They're not redoing anything, so Scott Bakula could show back up.
But Sam never made it home.
Exactly. So like there's going to be a new Quantum Leaper, I guess, going about in there. But
how about no?
Well, I'm interested to see what they come up with. Speaking of stuff that's being turned into a TV series, Tim Allen's The Santa Claus is becoming a Disney Plus show, and he's going to be returning for the role.
They're really starving for content, aren't they?
Which is interesting because didn't ABC drive his show off the air onto another network because he was seen as problematic? Speaking of,
well, I think he went from ABC to Fox. Isn't that
right?
They
kind of like drove him.
Fox got bought up by Disney.
I think they did 2 more seasons of that show after they moved it, right?
I think it was going for like a number.
Yeah,
of
I went for a
years
little bit longer.
Yeah, I mean,
it was Man of the House, right?
Yes, and it's funny enough, I think the same
like
producers from that or showrunners from that or something like that are working on the Santa Claus show. So
yeah, and Disney Plus is making a Real Steel series. Remember that one from Wolverine, Hugh Jackman, where the robot boxing?
the Rock'em Sock'em Robot movie.
Yep. They're turning that into a Disney Plus original series. Let's see here. We've got
okay.
So for those of you out there who are fans of the Arrowverse, which the CW DC series, they're giving John Diggle Arrow's bodyguard his own series called Justice U.
Isn't that like 5 years overdue?
It's pretty old, yeah. And I don't think anyone cares about the CW shows anymore.
That's what I mean. If they'd have done this 5 years ago, maybe, but
they're also bad. Why would anybody care about these CW shows?
There are some people who love them. Some people they just.
I mean, I jest, but yeah, there is like its little audience.
There's also people who watch, soap operas that are on every single day on the networks that have been on for 60 years too. It doesn't mean they're good. So.
Well, that's kind of the void that this fills, right?
Yeah, I guess, and there's 3,100 million hours of different Law and Order shows out there too. They should just have a Law and Order network for as many hours and stuff as there is of that. So yeah, I get it. It's funny.
CW. Tom, do you have any info on the CW being sold?
Well, they're just up for sale. They're going to continue. Well, they're going to continue to announce stuff and do stuff, right? Like, I mean, it's not like they're going to shut everything down.
Well, the CW was a joint venture between Paramount and Warner Brothers, I believe. So
well, the CW is what happens when you get in bed with Paramount, but
yeah. But I don't know like who's selling what. Like if Paramount's selling their stake or
last I knew, I mean, I think both of them are. I think they're just trying to sell the whole thing outright.
It would make sense because they'd want to put that money into their streaming services.
Well, yeah, because Warner, I think, owns the bigger piece.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you just said, why would they spend this money, which they supposedly are losing money on CW? Why would they continue to put money into that when they could just put these shows on HBO Max
and make all the money? Yeah.
And Paramount must not have very little, to do with the company anymore anyway, and they could definitely use the money. So,
yeah, and I think broadcast TV is kind of slowly dying out. So,
well, it seems like WB handles most of the actual content.
Yeah. Ron Cook asked, "Did you hear they might remake a Firefly series?"
Yes.
We did hear that, and Adam Baldwin on Twitter reached out to me because we're both blue check marks. I don't know if you guys know this.
Yeah, you're very important.
But he basically said like that's not a thing. So according to him, they're not remaking Firefly right now. But who knows? I mean, that is a good.
I've been hearing rumblings for a while though, so I don't know how much it's not a thing.
Yeah, but that is a good franchise for Disney to ruin. So I'm sure that they would.
Well, how much say does the original creators have in that show? That's the big question.
Yeah, it comes down to Joss Whedon. I guess like he might still have some type of stake in that, but I mean, who knows?
Isn't he canceled right now?
He is canceled.
Also, how long is it until you get out of canceled jail? How long does Joss Whedon got to like stay low before he can come out and play again?
I guess it depends on how many higher ups you pissed off. I mean, Kevin Spacey's still in canceled jail. So is Louis C.K. And
I don't think Louis C.K.'s in there. He's making content. He's out there. So
he's making personal content. He's not like he hasn't gotten any like actual deals at any.
I mean, I've seen him. I've listened to him on some podcasts and stuff, and I think he's made something. Didn't he make something? Some I'm Sorry special or something like that. I don't know.
Maybe Chris D'Elia is still canceled.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. Lots of people still canceled. I don't know. I don't know what the statute of limitations is on canceling.
It's hard to cancel comedians because they just, if they're a good comedian, they'll just take it and run with it,
So Calson says, I used to watch Arrow until they tried passing off an English word as a Japanese one. I don't know which word that was. If you could enlighten us, I'd love to hear that. Paramount just acquired Children of Blood and Bone Wednesday this week. Wasn't that Kathleen Kennedy's baby?
I believe.
Yeah, that's an odd thing going on there. Like Kathleen Kennedy is supposedly getting some award, but I'm more wondering if it's not George Lucas is getting the award and they won't give it to him without her because it's some 50th anniversary thing for Lucasfilm. But then all of a sudden, yeah, we're hearing that Blood and Bone moved over to Paramount, and I don't think she has any attachment to it anymore.
That's not unusual though, because
it just won't turn around or whatever.
Yeah, options expire and stuff.
It is odd though, because in one sense, because since I mean, even though Kathleen Kennedy has still been there all these years, ever since this whole thing of her being quote unquote outed, like the only things that have happened have been Mandalorian and Boba Fett, and technically Andor and Obi-Wan once they finally come out. Like, we have not had a movie since Rise of Skywalker. We haven't.
What's
the
that?
High
Like 2
Republic
years?
was kind of a non-start. Yeah, like we haven't really seen much out of that. We're hearing that the Rogue Squadron movie's being delayed. So, like, what is really happening under her tenure? Like, the Blood and Bones thing was supposed to be her other big project.
Well, also Indiana Jones.
Oh yeah, that's right. But is that even done filming yet? I mean, like,
I think what was it? They're still under hiatus, mostly due to Harrison Ford's injury, I think.
I thought they were back to shooting though, because that was the thing. Is I don't know if I want to spoil this for anybody, but let's just say he was supposedly on some other set as well.
Well, speaking of sets, Black Panther has resumed filming. Actress Letitia Wright got injured a while back, and they had to pause filming, I think, for her to recover. And so she has now returned to Black Panther: Wakanda Forever.
Is that the lady who
played Shuri.
His sister?
Shuri, yeah.
Didn't she get canceled for having questions about jab?
Yeah, well, kinda.
So I mean, I don't pay a whole lot of attention to this stuff. So I thought the movie was like in jeopardy because she was like adamant about not getting vaxxed. So I don't know.
Rogue Disney says, could the pandemic actually have saved Star Wars?
Possibly.
And Andre Enrico says, Boss Level was the best movie of 2021. It's definitely one of the best. I really enjoyed Boss Level. We also have the High Republic, as it has tens of fans, according to K Crusher.
Yes.
And Rogue Disney says, well, the Star Wars Hotel is High Republic connected.
Oh, God. That looks terrible.
To be.
Terrible
and overpriced. Did you hear that Wall Street downgraded the Disney stock this week?
Yeah,
due to lack of growth in the theme park sections, and they're also spending like billions of dollars for content, and so like the growth of the company has slowed. And they're saying like, okay, instead of being worth $200 a share, you're only worth $160 a share.
Almost like we've been right all this time, but yeah,
I know, it's weird, right? The consumers are right. It's amazing. How does that work?
Yeah. All right. And that does it for our news roundup section of the show. So those are all the headlines that I wanted to talk about. Now, Mr. Vader, what are some of the main topics that we are going to be discussing this Saturday morning?
So I just kind of wanted to go over some shows that we kind of like watched. We can go over them real briefly. Things that we consumed over our Christmas break, since this is the first show back on Saturday morning since we took our break. I watched a few things. I think the first thing that I wanted to just briefly discuss was Wheel of Time. Did you watch that? Did you consume that?
I certainly did.
And what
entire season?
I know. What are your thoughts on that? Did you like it? Come on.
Okay. So I read the books a long time ago. I should say the first book. I'm not a big fan of the book series. So like I didn't read all billion books in the series. But I did read Eye of the World, which is what the first season of the Amazon series is based on. And it was one of the worst TV adaptations I think I've seen in a long time. That being said, like it wasn't a bad show necessarily, but it wasn't a good show. It was a very kind of middle of the road meh type show. But a lot of the unnecessary changes that were made for the adaptation were horrible and stupid. And one of the people I really enjoyed watching, kind of breaking down the episodes, was Shadiversity. Like he started up a new podcast called The Night's Watch, KNIGHT *S, and it's him and his two buddies. And Shadiversity is a huge like book nerd. Like he loves the Wheel of Time books. Like, you know, he devours those things. He knows them backwards and forwards. And to hear him talk, like break down every episode about like all the unnecessary changes and all the stupid shit that the TV series did is very, very entertaining to me. And so I would watch those things. But personally, like I wasn't bothered by, I'd say like a third of the changes, but most of them, like they made this one change, okay, and I'm not going to spoil anything for the people who haven't watched the show yet, but the whole point of the show is like they're trying to find this guy called the Dragon Reborn, and he's like this male magic user, and in the Wheel of Time universe, the magic source, which is called the One Power, is divided into a male and female half. And so the male half has been tinted by the Dark One, who's like the big bad of the series. And so men who tap into the male half of the one source end up going insane and becoming evil because the male magic is tainted. That means that the females are the only ones who can safely channel magic without being corrupted. And so it's a very matriarchal society in which like the Aes Sedai, which are like basically witches, kind of rule, and they're the only ones who can safely use magic. And the whole thing about the Dragon Reborn is that he's kind of destined to come in and defeat the Dark One and cleanse the male half of the one source. And so like the whole series is about the Dragon Reborn coming back, and fighting the Dark One. And the series tried to make it into like a mystery as to who the Dragon Reborn was. And they said, oh, the Dragon Reborn can be either a man or a woman, which kind of undercuts the entire canon of what the books are about. Because if the Dragon Reborn is a woman, then you don't have to worry about her being tainted by the male half of the one source. And it completely kind of like negates the whole like urgency of like figuring out like everyone's hoping, oh, it should be a woman who comes back as the Dragon Reborn. Otherwise, like we're all in a lot of trouble. And so like little changes like that, whether to be inclusive or to kind of expand the mystery of like who's going to be the Dragon Reborn, was just stupid. And I think it's pretty obvious that the guy who was running the show, he said he was a fan of the books, but he wasn't really a fan of the books, because if he was a fan, he would have made some of the changes that he did. And in addition to that, they had a lot of production problems. Like one of the main characters, Matt Cawthon, the guy who found the dagger and got kind of corrupted by it, the actor playing that character left midway through production for personal reasons. I don't like, they're being kind of tight-lipped over why he left, but they had to write his character out for like the last couple episodes,
right?
Because the actor just wasn't there. And that caused
which character was that?
Matt, the guy with like the sisters, who's he was like the thief, and he found like the dagger that. Him.
Okay. The one who stayed behind when they went through the. Okay.
So in the books, he's with them up to the climax of the story, but because that actor basically screwed over the production by leaving, they had to like write him out, and a lot of book people who didn't know the behind the scenes drama got really bent out of shape about that. So overall, like, I don't think it was a good show, but it wasn't the worst show I'd ever seen.
Tom, do you have any thoughts on Wheel of Time?
No, I have not watched it. I know more about like how it came to be than anything. As far as like what Matt said a little bit ago, like I'm willing to bet in this day and age, it has more to do with the inclusivity thing than it has anything to do with trying to do anything interesting with the story, because this show mainly exists because I forget her name, but she was the one in charge of stuff over there at Amazon, and she decided that Conan was too problematic and this fit right in to what they wanted to do. So this became one of their earlier big projects, but I'm not surprised it's a big mess considering how it came together, and I'm sure they had a lot of notes and things they had to adhere to.
As for me, I went into Wheel of Time. I've never read the books. I know nothing about this series. I did not talk to Matthew about it really a whole lot. I didn't quite know what to expect, but watching this show, it just felt like generic fantasy to me with a lot of woke points in it. It felt. The diversity in the show felt really forced to me. They had to make sure all their bases were covered, and but I didn't get too upset about that because I didn't know the source material. So I didn't know if these characters actually all these different characters. So I wasn't really sure on what kind of swapping or what they did to make sure they had their quotas, their Hollywood quotas correct, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But so I didn't get too upset about that, but it seemed really forced to me, and all the fantasy stuff seemed very generic. I feel like, they tried to take stuff from Tolkien and everything and just kind of twist it up and, just kind of make it a little bit different. But that's basically what all fantasy is these days, right? It's twisted up Tolkien stuff. So I thought the show was really not good. It was bad. I did not like it.
So Wheel of Time books were actually responsible for resurgence in high fantasy. So like for a long time, it was Tolkien, and that was pretty much it. And then Wheel of Time came along, and it reinvigorated the genre in the book sphere. And Wheel of Time was actually a big inspiration for George R.R. Martin to write his Game of Thrones books. So without Robert Jordan, we wouldn't have gotten like the Game of Thrones series.
I mean, I basically feel like the entire show was about a bunch of dudes who were simping after these women. They were so beta. Every dude in the show was beta.
Well, the books are very much like that.
Yeah, and I felt it very, very annoying because that's not real life. Well, maybe it is for these days now, but it was too much. It was too much. So,
yeah, it was a weird show.
The problem, like, right, Matt. Here's the thing: is like, I mean, at least Wheel of Time is not something that has like this. This is not like the 10th version we've had of it or something like that. Yeah. But I think this is the kind of thing that poses a problem with the fan base. Is
right.
They'll sit there and complain that the original fan base doesn't like something, and then you have a new fan base that's if they're lucky enough to create a new fan base out of this new version. And it's like, well, then that new fan base is not a fan of the thing that made it a fan in the first place. So then you have the divisiveness, and then you have the.
Yeah, I mean, with this, you literally have hundreds of millions of people around the world who are hardcore fans of the books and have been for decades. And to kind of like piss them off by making unnecessary changes just doesn't make any sense. But I want to welcome Andre to the chat as well. Our good friend from
everyone. Thanks for having
across the pond. Welcome, Andre, to Salty Nerd Saturday Morning.
Absolutely.
Wait, I feel like we're on Midnight's Edge all of a sudden. What happened?
Except I have the power here.
Exactly. You had the power to not invite me to last week's Sword and Sorcery special. So
I told you you'd be upset.
So we were just finishing up talking about the Wheel of Time TV show. Vader, what other things did you watch over the break you wanted to talk about?
What else did I watch? I watched this little thing from Disney Plus called Hawkeye. And you know what? I was actually, I'm probably going to go against the grain here on this one. I was kind of entertained by this show. I really kind of enjoyed Hawkeye. And I know a lot of people did not enjoy Hawkeye, but you know what? I liked Kate Bishop. I wasn't bored by the story. I liked the interaction and the banter and the relationship that she had with Hawkeye himself, and I kind of enjoyed the story. I don't know. What did you think, Matt?
So I'm a big Jeremy Renner stan. You all know this because I actually made a movie with him and worked with him and befriended him, at least before he became super famous. And I was looking forward to this, but I was also very trepidatious. But I'm with you, Vader. I think that this is the best Disney Plus Marvel series that they put out there. It was a lot of fun. I didn't feel like it was woke at all. Like I felt like it was a good passing of the torch because Jeremy wants to go on and do other things, and Haley Steinfeld I thought was very good as Kate Bishop, and it was a fun short TV show. We got the return of a big Marvel villain that it was surprising and good to see come back, and it was just. It almost, the episodes are so short. It basically just plays like one long movie if you just sit down and watch it from beginning to end. So I really liked it, but I have a feeling that our Midnight's Edge friends would disagree with us.
I mean,
I don't totally disagree. I enjoyed the series, and I agree with you that it is the best so far of the Disney Plus MCU shows, but that's not saying a lot.
No.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. That's a low bar.
Yeah. And unfortunately, it was not overly woke or any of these other problems until that last episode. That last episode really threw this whole thing off, and I think drew the ire of most of the fans because I think you were winning a lot of fans over up to that point. And I don't know if it wasn't so much unwoke as it was that people like Haley Steinfeld. I think that's the bigger thing. Like if it was any other actress, I think we'd had a lot more jokes about Hawkeye being sidelined in his own show, which he kind of was, and there still were those jokes out there.
Mhm.
But I think it helps that she is so likable. But that last episode, especially with, I don't know how far we're getting into spoilers here, but
No, do what you gotta
okay,
do.
like
That's fine.
the return of Kingpin was a joke.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it was you play this big game out there in the press, and I don't know if you guys saw our video on it in our previous coverage on this. Like, it is not the same Kingpin. No matter what they say,
No.
it is still 25% different. And when you got a 12-year-old girl beating the hell out of Kingpin who's supposed to be overpowered, like I was out of it. I'm like, nope.
Mhm.
And then you don't even get Jeremy Renner and him together. Like that whole thing, like it was just like, no. There's got to be more than this. I was happy to see him back, but I just was not happy how they dealt with it. Outside of that, though, I thought the series was decent. I thought it was pretty good. I like Haley. I liked
the whole thing with Hawkeye LARPing and being like,
Yeah.
I fought Thanos.
Yeah, the whole thing was
That was
fun. Like it had
hilarious.
its moments. Like it was great as far as that goes, but I think it would have worked better as a movie.
The Captain America Broadway musical.
Yeah, there were some
So
great
bad.
moments. I mean,
So
as far
bad.
as like some people saying it was boring, yeah, I think it would have been better tightened up as a movie. Why does Black Widow get her own movie and Hawkeye don't?
Correct.
And I don't
I
even
did
know if
like-
Andre watched it yet, to be honest with you.
I've skimmed it. Like other things, it's like I know pretty much what to expect, so I haven't sat down to watch the whole thing in regular speed. What I have done is I've seen it like at 25% increased and like skip a little bit ahead and stuff like that. Compress the viewing experience to like a good hour and a half, something like that. So I know the gist of what happens, and based on what others have heard and my own speed run through it, I agree that it's the best of the MCU series so far.
Yeah.
So absolutely no, you'll get no quarrel from either of us there.
I feel like it was a good ending to the Jeremy Renner version of Hawkeye, because you wrapped up the whole Ronin stuff. You dealt with his PTSD over Black Widow's death. You saw him kind of pass the torch to the next incarnation of the character.
Yeah.
And
Andre just mad he didn't bite it.
Yeah, one of the things that I actually liked is how jacked up Hawkeye is from all of his fights. Like, like he lost his hearing, so he has to wear these hearing aids. And they're like, how did you lose your hearing? And it flashes back to like numerous times where he could have lost his hearing. He's just like, it's just something that happened. So
Part of
like,
the job, right?
Yeah. So it was
cumulative is what we call that, and that's the thing with hearing loss, right? Because you have like these like follicles in the ears, and they get damaged over time. They don't grow back. So I like the way how they did that, and it was like a good way to send off the character. Although personally, I don't think the character deserved it, but that's just me. But yeah, it did what it had to do, and with that agree with when they lucked out, and that Haley Steinfeld is so likable, because that series would have been universally hated, I think, had it not been for her.
We're having some
your major robot, Andre.
Yeah, we're having some connection issues with
Your
Andre.
major robot.
We're getting one out of every six words on you. But real quick, JT Gunter super chat for $2. Congrats again on hitting 4K subs. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Yes,
we've we had a crazy December where we had a few videos go viral, and a lot of people found our channel and subscribed. And
you were the Mangold Slayer,
Well, yeah, that was a lot earlier in the year though. We're hoping to hit 5,000 subs soon, which will be nice. Still a drop in the bucket compared to these heavy hitter Midnight's Edge people here throwing their weight.
We're not helping you guys. We're coming for you.
You're not helping your reputation, Andre. Now they're still convinced you're a robot.
Oh, I can live with it. There's a glitch in the Matrix, glitch in the AI, let's say, but that should be better once I've done rebooting in like a minute or so.
Okay,
you're clearing up a little bit.
Yeah, you're clearing up a little bit now.
Yeah, exactly. Give it another minute or two.
Okay. So Hawkeye.
Overall, good show. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, best of the MCU shows by far. And again, that's not saying a whole lot because they haven't been really that great.
Unfortunately, a far ways to go till Netflix Daredevil, which is, I think, should be the golden standard that they need to aim towards.
For sure, 100%. And it, and it's not it does feel like they're trying to, on the down low, insert an all-female Avengers for the next phase. So I see that coming as well.
Oh, it's a young Avengers thing.
Yeah. So down with the men in the world. We all suck. So
anything else you wanted to talk about? In terms
man, I got a list like 20 miles long, dude. We got a ton of stuff to talk about. No, we're getting down there. What else did we watch over Christmas break? Spider-Man. We watched the Spider-Man movie.
Spider-Man was good.
What did we think about that movie? Was it cool watching the Spider-Men come together to fight?
I love that movie. Yeah, I thought it was great.
I had a good time there. I thought it was cool.
You know what wasn't great? The Eternals.
The Eternals was terrible. I just watched that yesterday. Awful movie. All I can think of now, we're gonna pivot to the Eternals then. Okay, that's fine.
I don't think Andre's been able to see Spider-Man yet, have we?
Well, I know what happens in it.
Yeah, you know what happens in it.
Eternals I've seen, of course.
Yeah, that I don't care about spoilers here with that show, so it's fine. All I can think about is Earth in the MCU now has a giant celestial coming out of the South Pacific with these giant 2-mile long fingers coming out of the ocean and a 5-mile long head. It very much reminds me of World of Warcraft when there was a giant sword stuck in the planet that was 3,000 miles high. It makes no sense. Every country on the planet would have been destroyed in a massive tsunami had all of that water been displaced in the South Pacific with all those giant celestial things coming up out of the ocean. It was weird. It's just a weird movie. I don't see how it has any place in the MCU. It's bizarre. It's absolutely a bizarre, weird, freaky movie. And
it's the price we pay for Spider-Man, basically.
It's goofy.
I mean that in all sincerity, because Spider-Man is a result of Feige trying to do what DC is going to do, but first. Mm-hmm. And the Eternals was his answer to when DC was going to do New Gods with Ava DuVernay. But that didn't happen. So basically, he got stuck making this movie. And I'm glad that from what it sounds like, I haven't seen it myself, but Andre and you guys have. Sounds like there really isn't that much to attach it to the rest of the MCU to where they can probably ignore it in the next couple of years. But
if they want to, and we've been hearing like some rumors that that's going to be in the sequel, so this one will follow up this and that thing somewhere else. But I agree with you completely. I mean, it was absolutely ridiculous, that huge celestial coming out of the planet. It was utterly insane. I mean, never mind the tsunami. What about plate tectonics?
Oh yeah.
What's that going to do to the freaking crust of the planet?
Yeah, he was coming out from like the middle of the planet or something.
Inside the planet. Yeah. Even him getting to the surface to where he could like poke his fingers out of the ocean would have completely just destroyed the entire planet. It's absolutely insane. Makes
completely ridiculous.
Also, way too many characters, and not any of them were very interesting.
No. None of them were really. Like the most interesting one of them was the one that looked like a little girl, because that one at least had something to be upset about. I suppose exactly. And I suppose the deaf one too, given that they're all androids and they were created so diverse, even with disabilities.
Yeah,
I mean, I'd go back and I'd like literally in that case, I'd go and complain to my maker.
For sure. It's like, why am I fat and everybody else is in shape? That doesn't make any sense.
Honestly, I was just so bored throughout the movie. I didn't feel like it was a terrible film, but at the same time, it was just like, come on, like, give me something.
Oh, it's easily in my bottom 2 or 3 MCU movies, probably the very bottom.
I was going to say it looked like somebody else trying to make an MCU movie.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say it's Thor: Dark World levels of meh.
Oh no, Dark World's way better.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Dark World has some good scenes in it.
I would say at least you got all the Loki stuff
overall, but there's good things in it.
Yeah, Dark World sucks until Loki comes in, and then it's decent.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah,
I mean, like Loki saves Darkworld, and also that scene with Mjolnir flying back and forth through the portals.
How do you pronounce it?
Mjolnir.
How do you pronounce it?
Mjolnir.
Not
Stop.
meow meow.
No, but meow meow works. That was a cool scene as well. I like that one.
It's a girl though now, you know.
Yeah, I know, because Marvel has to go and gender bend everything. so even the masculine energy of the mauler itself, because that's what Mjolnir means, of course, has to be made female. So yeah, good going, Marvel.
Internals save lives. Yeah, this movie just made no sense to me. I don't see how it fits into the MCU at all. You know, and their whole contrived thing about, well, why didn't you interfere when Thanos was there and all this kind of stuff? And, you know, well, we were told we weren't supposed to, and yada, yada.
That was
yada.
even more stupid.
It was even more dumb. Yes, absolutely, Andre.
Especially when you consider their mission is basically just protect the people of this planet, so that when they reach a certain threshold, the next celestial can be born.
Right.
Well, given that half of the population on the planet was blinked out in a moment, you'd think that actually would like get into the point where that
would fall in their purview.
Absolutely, yeah, it would fall into their purview when they're supposed to protect the planet from predators, and half the planet just drops off and dead, and they're like, oh, I don't know.
Also, where are the Avengers when this giant robotic god shows up in the sky?
Well, that's
in orbit
the
of their
inherent. That's the problem with all this stuff, right? Like that's the problem, and you know this as a storyteller. Like once you do those kind of things, you have the problem of, well, where's Iron Man? Yeah, well, where's this person? Why isn't this person showing up since this is going on? And I mean, you can only say, well, this person's doing this and this person's doing that so many times before you're stopping in the middle of the movie and taking 20 minutes to explain where everybody is.
Yeah, like S.H.I.E.L.D. should have at least shown up and been like, what was that giant thing in the sky? What just happened?
You know,
or Thor at least, right? Like that's the other thing. Like you have these problems, and it's even like the DC universe too. It's like, well, why ain't Superman always there? Like, because he would know, you know, like he's the one who could go just about anywhere, anytime, and knows just about everything that's going on. But yet, that's the problem when you open up these worlds like this: is you'll constantly be asking, well, where's Spider-Man?
It just is. It's just the problem I have with a lot of comic book worlds to begin with. It's like I wouldn't want to live on a planet that has so many weirdos running around in capes and tights with superpowers. I would fear for my life every single day. I would never leave my house.
Oh, with good reason to.
Yeah,
that's a good point, man.
It's just like it's too much. You know, there's wizards and superheroes and aliens, and
it'd be like 9/11 times 10 all the time.
Giant things coming out of the center of the earth, and big green dudes smashing buildings, and giant, you know, alien invasions coming out of portals above New York City. Enough, man. I'm out.
Well, no, you're right.
I would not want to live there. It's
you
insane.
Got like 9/11 level events happening like every other day. Like I get exactly what you're saying. Like it makes the world look like the way we're dealing with the current situation, like a bunch of pussies, right? Like it's like shit. They got to deal with that stuff all the time.
And we haven't even had the X-Men and the Fantastic Four come in yet. You know, there's no Dr. Doom in the MCU yet. They're screwed, man. The world is done. It's over. It's like, forget it. Get me off this planet. I want to go to a nice, calm planet where we're all just normal. You know, I don't want to have so many soups running around like in The Boys. Exactly.
Yeah, sadly, we are in that world, only without the heroes.
Yeah. It would just, I would not want to live in the MCU.
We just have the villains that they don't have to come out into the light.
Well, and that's Marvel's problem right there, is the villain problem, right? Like they can't stick to a decent villain, and every villain has to be a misunderstood this, that, or the other. And it's like, why can't we just have like Dr. Doom come in and just be bad?
Yeah.
Right. Like, I mean, just relish in the fact that he's Dr. Doom. Like, I mean, that's what we want, right? Correct. That's why we love the Joker. Because he knows he's bad. It's not like he's pretending that he's like misunderstood or anything like that. He knows what he's up to.
I agree. Whew. Wouldn't want to live in a superhero world. It's too much. Depends
on which one, but yeah.
I guess so. What else is on the list here? Let me pull my list up. Oh, okay. There is this little thing, this little show from Disney Plus that we've been wanting to talk about for the last 3 weeks now. It's called the Book of Boba Fett.
Just a little show.
Just this little show. And I know you guys have talked about this to no end, Tom, Andre, but we have not had a chance to talk about this show yet because this is our first show of the year. I'm so confused. There's so many parts of this show that I want to like, but it's such a head scratcher, man. It's such a head scratcher. I don't know what I'm watching. I don't know what they're trying to do. Explain it to me, Matthew. What are they doing here? Why is it so disjointed and crazy and goofy? And I don't know. What do you got to say about this thing?
I think this was something that was thrown together at the last minute, which is one of the reasons why it's kind of all over the place. I want to know, so Boba Fett gets out of the Sarlacc pit, and he doesn't age from that point on to Mandalorian time frame where he becomes a crime lord. I guess that's back to treatments. He just looks like old Tamora Morrison.
How long has it been? Like 5 years or something like that? I'm not sure.
Well, and that's the problem I have with the show is this is supposed to be like 30-something-year-old Boba Fett.
Yeah.
And we're getting 60-year-old Boba Fett.
Yeah, with
and I don't know about not being and I don't know about not being planned, Matt, because this was all put together in the midst of last season of Mandalorian. Like that whole season arc with Boba Fett was supposed to be setting this whole thing up.
Well, that's what I mean is it felt like it was something that they slapped together because they were like, it's going to take a long time to do season 3 of Mandalorian. We need a stopgap.
I thought that would be the case too, but this happened. This was all put together before, they decided not to bring Gina Carano back and stuff.
Well, but I mean, it was based on the movie script, right?
Yeah, but even if that's the case, even if this is just a stopgap and something that's rushed together, I don't think that's any excuse for it being this bad, for it being this slow, for it being so out of character with Boba Fett. I mean, just look at the post-credit scene of the final episode of The Mandalorian, where this thing was all teased. You have Boba Fett being all badass, he just goes and shoots people straight down, sits on the throne, and just kind of sends the message, I'm in charge here. I mean, that should have set the tone right there. Even if you had nothing else, if you bring in Robert Rodriguez and they say, okay, look here, that's the beginning, and we want it to end right here with this character being there, this character being there. Between those two, have at it. If they had done that, I think we would have gotten a really, really cool show. And instead, we got this Power Rangers crap that we get on screen here.
Yeah,
ain't no way this came from the mind of Robert Rodriguez.
That girl with the one arm was pretty hot.
Well, this is the biggest tweet I've ever had. Believe it or not, even bigger than my Miles Morales one.
I stole it.
Well, I stole it to begin with, so I can't even take credit for it. But it's just like this. I think this shows you right here, how people feel about this show. I mean, it's not really anybody's favorite. I mean,
no, it's exactly no one's favorite.
Yeah. Well, when the Mandalorian was better at being Boba Fett than Boba Fett is, you got a problem.
Yeah, I was, I'm into the whole Mos Espa crime storyline. It's when they are jumping back to the Tuskens and stuff that I lose interest because I just don't care.
It's I think part of my problem with this show is I'm not seeing Boba Fett as a badass bounty hunter. I made a comment on Twitter 2-3 days ago now that people tried to ratio, but they couldn't because I kept on I've gotten 300 or 400 likes on it now. But I basically said something to the of, I'm having a hard time seeing Boba Fett as a quote bad guy because in my little brain, my 45 years of fandom brain since I was 7 years old, Boba Fett has always been sided with the villains. He's a villain. He's a cool villain like Darth Vader, but he's still a villain. And so I'm having a bit of an issue.
I agree with you 100%, Matt.
Making him come off as some kind of character that we're supposed to really give a shit about if he's the one out there and being the savior to the Sand people. It's a weird pivot that they took with the character. The Boba Fett in my head would give no craps about the Sand people. He would go out there and steal their stuff and find a swoop bike and go in, and he'd probably go try to find the people who made him fall down in the Sarlacc pit and kick their ass. You know, that's the Boba Fett in my brain. And yeah, people, well, he's a neutral character. Well, maybe he is, you know, but he's a bounty hunter. He'll work for whoever pays him the most money. But for some reason, I don't really see him going out there and working for Princess Leia if she had a bounty on him or something. But anyway, in my brain, he's a villain. You know, you go to Disney, you know, when they show the stupid, you know, the dance-offs in the Disney parks, Boba Fett's out there with the bad guys, right? He's dancing next to Darth Vader and
he's been
stormtroopers. And it's just, he's marketed as a villain.
He's been Jabba's little lackey or whatever for years.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the problem I have with the show is you're supposed to. I don't care about the EU. You can say what you want about the EU, and I know people love Boba Fett. He's the most popular character besides Darth Vader, probably. I don't have a Boba fetish. I say it all the time. So I went into this show with just like, man, it's on this show to entertain me, and it hasn't. And I have the same problem you do, Matt. Is we've seen this character a whole of a minute and a half in the Star Wars trilogy.
Right.
And in that moment, we had Darth Vader come up to him and tell him no disintegrations, which was basically supposed to tell us that, you know, if Darth Vader's got to go out of his way,
he likes to
tell you to behave, then that means you're obviously somebody who needs attention to be paid to. But then we just last saw him shooting at Luke Skywalker, and he brought, you know, Han Solo to Jabba the Hutt. This guy is not a nice guy, right? And you're right. Like this is what we're supposed to be seeing. And this is one of the few times I'd be like, yeah, make it a prequel. It shouldn't have been any of this stuff. It should have started right where he picked up his dad's helmet, show us how he got out of that situation, show us why he's Boba Fett, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is not the way you demystify a character.
Yeah,
you can do that, but it's you got to handle it with kid gloves because
it's like Andre said at the end of Mandalorian last year when he goes to Jabba's palace and basically murders Bib. That set it up. That was cool. You know, okay, well, Boba Fett's going to turn into some kind of ruthless crime lord, and if that's what they're setting up, fine. But man, they're going a weird direction with this thing. I'm going to be a crime lord of the people. We're going to treat everybody nice with kids' gloves, and I'm going to negotiate with everybody. And you know, it's just like, no, that's not how I see. No, it doesn't.
Where does this social democrat come from all of a sudden?
Well, and Joker Boys says what a lot of other people keep saying. Well, they did it in the Clone Wars. I hate doing homework.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not. If you can't show me in the movie or the show that's live action, then what the hell am I doing here? Like, I get it. People loved the Clone Wars, and I get it's supposed to be canon. Then show us that stuff in live action. I guess I don't know what else to say here.
Also, me personally, I hate it. Every time we get to see Boba Fett's face, I'm like,
leave your helmet on.
Yeah, every time he takes his helmet off, I'm just like, ugh.
Well, that's how they could have got away with keeping him younger for a while.
Yeah, exactly.
But
you could have just had the original actor just voice him and have someone else physically play the part. I mean, that's how you would do it, because obviously...
That's what they did in Mandalorian.
Yeah, that's what they should have done here as well, because when you look at the body of Boba Fett here and in Empire, it's very obviously not the same actor, not the same body type, not the same build, nothing.
And that's what I'm saying. I would not have a problem with seeing an old man Boba Fett show, but you have to jump that far ahead, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, then we're talking like sequel trilogy era.
You know, maybe they're going to change this in the next few episodes, and I doubt they will. But I see Boba Fett as soft right now. I do. I just see him as soft. You know, back in The Mandalorian, in the first season of The Mandalorian, I was into that show, you know, because I'm talking to a bunch of spots right now. It's ridiculous. You know, they had the episode where in Mando where the Jawas came and they stole this stuff, right? So Mando goes in there, he gets his rifle out, and he starts destroying those Jawas, just eviscerates them, blasts them into a million pieces with his gun. I have not seen that from from Boba Fett. I want Boba Fett to have that attitude. It's like,
You're
these guys
right.
wrong me. I'm gonna mess these dudes up. You know, and I'm not saying he hasn't had his cool moments, you know, but he hasn't had it yet, and they're not showing me the Boba Fett that I think people want to see.
Like we've seen him do a lot of action in his like old timey prospector long johns, and his big fight with Black Krizan, or whatever, however you pronounce it. He was basically in a diaper, and it's so awkward, like seeing, like, you know, I mean, Tamora Morrison, he's a good actor, but he's old. He looks old. And it's cringy to see him try to do some of these action scenes, at least outside of the armor. The armor can hide a lot, which is why I'm surprised that they don't allow him to wear it more. But also, everything that we've seen in the show so far, like Boba Fett hasn't done anything cool. He always says to Shan, like, go get him, or like he has like his minions do it. It's like the one thing of the show I have liked so far is the Hutts. I love seeing like the Hutts show up and throw their weight around. And it's, I wish like we'd get more of the inner workings of like the Star Wars criminal syndicates.
Well, that was what I was saying about going with the prequel thing, because then you could have learned how the hierarchy worked, right? Because find out how he started working for Jabba. You know, why does the city run the way it does? You know, you could have told us all that stuff through that story. But like, that's my other problem is like the Tusken Raiders, and like Matt just brought up, you know, the Jawas. Like, the only things we really know about these characters is what Obi-Wan tells us in the first movie, right? And he has no respect for either one of them. Like, in fact, he has disdain for the fucking Jawas. So, like, I agree with Matt. Like, these are not characters that we're supposed to be humanizing here.
Right.
Like, especially the Tusken Raiders. That bothers me on so many levels.
We're getting Dances with Wolves with Boba Fett.
Exactly.
It's insane. It's
not just that, Matt. It's like, this feels like, what are they doing here? Like, somebody pointed this out on a show I was on, and I really wish I could remember who said it in the chat so I could give them credit. But they are right, because we have Jon Favreau, Robert Rodriguez, all these veterans working on this show, yet it feels like the only class that anybody took who worked on this show was Classic Film 101, and that was it. Because it starts off as Godfather, then it goes to Lawrence of Arabia, then we're Dances with Banthas. It's like, pick one and go with it. Because I'm feeling dizzy here, and I'm not really getting anything out of this. Here we are, the third episode in. You have not hooked me at all. At least Mandalorian had that fucking baby at the end of the first episode to hook us in.
Yep. No, I agree. I mean,
sorry for the rant and the swearing.
No,
yeah.
you rant and swear away, dude. We're an R-rated show. It's fine, as long as it's not the first 60 seconds, so YouTube doesn't ding us. We're good, right, Matt?
I don't think that applies to live stream.
This show has put out more memes than anything between the Bantha and everything else. Sure. It's like, oh,
it's just that, you know, there's a few cool things in the show that I have liked. I've liked seeing Black Chrysanthemum. I don't know how exactly you say it, but it's kind of cool. Chrysanthemum, Black Chrysanthemum. No, he's a cool character, and I know he's from the Dr. Aphra comic books, I believe. I haven't read those. I have no interest because comic books aren't canon, guys. And it's just, but he's a cool character, and I like seeing another badass Wookiee out there other than Chewbacca. You know, he's kind of cool. He looks neat. There's going to be a million of them at the conventions now, as people cosplaying him and stuff. But you know, and I like the Hutts, like you said, Matt. But man, there's just so many misses in this show that they're head scratchers. The Vespas, I don't understand the Power Rangers biker gang. I do not get it at all. I don't know what they were trying to do. Apparently, some people were saying that it's a homage to George Lucas's love of 1950s Italian Vespa gangs or some weird shit. I don't know. You guys need to explain that to me. Yeah, it's so goofy, and it's just, what did they think was going to happen when they introduced those characters?
Roll his eyes at this crap.
It's like, because I see people online going, oh, well, Lucas would love that. I don't think he would. I
saw that too, Matt, and I'm like, no. First of all, George Lucas, the first thing he would say in that opening shot is, "Where's all the creatures?"
Yeah, why are they so colorful? Yeah,
we need more aliens in there.
I mean, this is the guy who put a 50s diner in.
That's what I'm saying. Clones. And the same thing with like the little Vespas. Like, no. Awful. This is the guy who made one of the best drag race scenes in cinema history in American Graffiti. He would think that is dumb as hell.
Yeah,
I disagree.
he did make the prequels, so yeah.
Yeah.
But,
Well, the pod race at least is exciting.
He put a
The pod
50s
race there
diner.
was really good. Let's be honest about that.
He put a 50s diner in Attack of the Clones.
Yeah, but it was still at least infinitely more interesting than anything we've seen in this show. That was the only part of the prequels my dad loved. I'll be honest with you. He hated those movies. And the other problem was we're going through it. He's like, that's little Luke. I don't understand. That's like, no, Dad, that's Darth Vader. That kid ain't Darth Vader. He kept going. And then we got to the second movie. He's like, now that's funny. I like that guy. He liked the guy with Jester. He's like, I like this part. And then after that, he's like, yeah, the rest of this sucks. He didn't like anything after that.
We have to be careful here. We're gonna go down a how much the prequels suck rabbit hole. So
that's the sad part is they don't suck nearly as bad as they used to now.
Just in comparison to other sucky stuff. Yeah.
But yeah, so the Power Rangers biker scooter gang, weird, right?
Or whatever. Yeah,
I don't know what they are. It just they seem so out of place to me, and it was just such a strange. And and then they had the world's slowest chase scene going through Mos Espa there, and it was just, again, this show it's just missing something. It's off. It doesn't feel right, and I can't put my finger on it other than I just feel like it feels rushed, right? Like you said, Matt.
I do have to give props to Danny Trejo as the Rancor trainer.
Oh yeah, that's one of the cool things that they did.
That's one of the things I liked. Yeah,
and Stephen Root making an appearance. I'm liking these like actors showing up. That's totally Robert Rodriguez though. So
yeah, that is cool. I don't think that anyone minds that. I mean, there are many issues here, but it's not the cast, because that's one thing that he could influence. Mm-hmm. But still, what I'm like thinking is that this is bad even for Rodriguez by association, because there's no way that he had free reins on this thing right here. I mean, this is like a half-assed thing. Something that has many fathers.
Jon Favreau has written every episode, right? So,
well, he must have been burnt out when he did.
Well, he also did that for The Mandalorian for the most part, I think.
Yeah, I know, but The Mandalorian was good. I mean, with this, he must have been burnt out after Mandalorian. Like, I can't imagine otherwise.
The Mandalorian did something that this show hasn't done so far. It introduced characters that I thought were cool, like the other Mandos, the blacksmith lady. It had some extra characters in the show that I thought were intriguing and interesting. And outside Black Kirstentan, I really haven't seen that in this show at all.
Not only that, it feels like this show has like a third of the budget.
Right, it does, and maybe that's a COVID thing. I don't know, but it does feel like you said, it feels like the streets of Mos Espa are empty. I don't know. It just seems.
No, I agree with you. Like this does not feel like the event it's supposed to be. This is Boba Fett, right? Like, and I said I don't have a Boba fetish, but I understand how important this character is to the Star Wars universe, and the ratings on this show are not good.
No,
they're not good.
No.
And you would think they would be great, considering, I mean, because we were just talking about the other day with Paulie of Latino Slan, who heads up our Midnight Edge Espanol, and he was like talking about how, this show's doing this, that, and the other, and what about Picard and Discovery and all these shows that are kept on? I'm like, yeah, but Picard even had better ratings than this. That's what's sad, right? Like Star Trek is in the state that it is in, and it got more viewers than Boba Fett is getting. This show barely did better than Hawkeye so far.
Yeah.
Ratings are kind of a hard metric to judge.
They are, but
on the streaming end of things.
But what we have,
they're more important about. They're more about watch hours than they are about how many people have seen
but
it.
I still see it as, is there any interest in this, right? Because Cobra Kai is just killing it right now.
Yeah.
I mean, also with streaming, like there's this thing about how like, anyone at any point in time can come and like binge the thing, right? And a lot of people are waiting for all the episodes to drop before they go back and watch it. So, I mean, it's
there
kind of
is
up in
that,
the air.
and I understand that, Matt. But at the same time, it's like there's still that gauge of interest.
Yeah,
and I also go by like, is it trending? How are people reacting? Like, to me, like the biggest thing is like how people reacted to that tweet I put out. I mean, that just shows you that people are not digging this show.
No, it's off. This isn't the Boba Fett people wanted, and it is what it is. I guess. Hopefully, we're only halfway through. Maybe they can. Maybe they're slow rolling us here. I don't know. I doubt it, but
we're almost halfway. That's the problem.
Yeah,
we are halfway.
We are
it's
halfway.
Only 6 episodes, I think.
I thought it was 7, but yeah, okay.
Well, I kind of.
Their run times are all over the place, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like some are like a half hour, others are like an hour long. It's weird.
I wish that the first 2 episodes were one feature length episode.
It should have been something
because
like
it felt that first episode especially felt really off. They could have just had the first 2 episodes called it Dances with Banthas and been good with it, and it's fine. It's just I don't know. You got anything you want to say about this? Wrap it up, Matthew.
I say, has Andre even watched this yet?
Yeah, I've seen it. I gave into the pressure because I was like delaying it for as long as I could because there are other things that I feel like watching more, although those turned to be dreadfully disappointing as well. But yeah, no, it's just painful. It's just painful.
What were the other disappointing ones?
Around the World in 80 Days. Mm. I knew it was going to be disappointing. I knew it was going to be disappointing since I first heard of it a year ago, when I learned that it was going to be like around the world in 80 days to learn about how horrible white people is and how evil the empire is and patriarchy and all of that jazz. So far, I'm 1 episode in, and not only is it Wokerton Central, it's boring. It's boring as hell.
Isn't that a BBC production?
Yes, it is.
There you go. That's why.
Yeah, I was thinking, okay, fine. There has to be like something to that, but nope. It was just subversion and deconstructing the whole way. They were able to deconstruct Phileas Fogg himself. I mean, it's a character that you don't know too much about, even in the book, and they were still able to deconstruct him. Of course, into the biggest loser you can possibly imagine.
Yeah. Well, I certainly feel like they've done that with Boba Fett as well, turned him into a loser. But I think we've talked about Star Wars enough, Vader.
Yeah.
We have one more topic we wanted to hit.
Go into it. You can introduce it. Feel free.
You're putting the hosting duties off on me
for the last topic. Absolutely. Go ahead.
All right, so we're going to talk about the G4 Meltdown.
I was hoping it was Cobra Kai. Dang.
No, I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, so we're saving it for like when I can actually get through the series.
What?
I approve of this decision.
I promised my wife I would watch it with her. That's one of our.
And I have to watch it with Jude, and she holds me up on stuff. All right, so for those of you out there who might not be aware, does anyone remember G4? Because I remember.
Yeah, absolutely.
Back in the day, but we're all old men, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
But basically, G4 was like the first incarnation of a video game entertainment channel, where you'd have shows talking about video games, reviewing video games, all that good stuff. And it used to be you could only get it on, I think, DirecTV or satellite or something like that. And I can remember watching it back in the day, and that was when Olivia Munn was on. That was my first exposure to her, and it was kind of a cool channel. I'm not going to lie. I enjoyed watching it. And then it got shut down because it wasn't making any money. And now they're bringing it back in a new incarnation on YouTube and Twitch. And basically they've replaced, they brought back, what's his name? I forget, like the bald guy who's a complete raging lunatic.
And it was Andy something or other. I don't know. I never liked him. I was like Chris, and I didn't mind the other guys, but
But they have like some new cast members, and one of them is this person. I don't know if I can gender her or not, but she goes by, and Andre might have to help me with this pronunciation. Froskerin. Froskerin.
Yeah.
AKA Frosk. And Frosk, she's a, I guess one of the new co-hosts on Attack of the Show or X-Play or something like that.
Yeah.
And basically she in their big debut live stream, she went off on this rant about sexism in gaming and how like Olivia Munn was not there to be easy on the eyes and how she's not as bangable as Olivia Munn and that's okay and all this other weird stuff. And this got so much more attention than anything else that G4 could have possibly done. Mm-hmm. And now there's this big controversy over like, you know, G4 has gone woke and they're attacking their audience. And is there really this much toxicity in gaming and blah, blah, blah. And basically, I feel like this was just a huge publicity stunt. I feel like she knew what she was doing by doing this. And G4 is getting way more attention than they normally would if they hadn't done this. But one of the other interesting things is like she's being kind of propped up now as like a new like Anita Sarkeesian-esque champion of women's rights for being stunning and brave about you know, sexism in gaming and stuff like that. But one of the interesting things that I did some research into, and if you go out onto It's a Gundam's channel, like he has a very interesting video about all the behind the scenes stuff on this, is that so Frostgren came from League of Legends. She was like a color commentator in League of Legends.
What does that mean?
So like when they would do esports in League of Legends, she would be one of the people kind of broadcasting, like going through play-by-plays and stuff like that. Kind of like how like if you watch sports, you have like the announcers kind of like talking over the game.
Commentator and the color guy. Yeah.
So like you have the person who knows what they're talking about, then you have the person who kind of interjects like little jokes or like tries to make it more entertaining.
Was she the one who knows what she was talking about, or the one who interjected the jokes?
She was the color commentator, which means she was the one kind of putting in the jokes.
Oh,
but she ended up.
She was the one having
she's
the talking points, basically. All right,
yeah.
I see.
So she basically got banned from the League of Legends community because apparently she was very biased against certain regions, and she also didn't know what she was talking about for the most part, and so she get a lot of criticism for her lack of knowledge and her biases. And so like she was expelled from that community. She ended up joining G4, and she has the same bias on certain consoles. So we all know like how voracious people are like in defense of their chosen console. If you're an Xbox gamer, you're like Xbox rules, everything else sucks. If you're a PlayStation gamer, you're like PlayStation rules, everything else sucks. And so she's anti-PlayStation, and she was a shill for Xbox.
Oh,
and so that turned all the PlayStation people against her. In addition to that, she also has very limited knowledge about actual gaming. Like she even said in her rant that like she just reads reviews that other people write for them. And whenever she's off the cuff and just talking about her general knowledge of gaming, she's usually wrong, and no one bothers to correct her because they're afraid to correct an SJW woman, I guess. But a lot of the toxicity geared towards her is based off of this stuff, like her lack of knowledge, her biases and stuff like that. It has nothing to do with her looks. Mm-hmm. But she made it sound like that's what it was. And if you go back and you look at the chat during her like little rant thing, it was overwhelmingly in support of her. And she's just kind of singling out this like weird little vocal minority that doesn't like her and trying to, I guess, insulate herself by saying like, oh, it's all based around sexism. And so that way, like, they can't fire her or whatever. But the fallout from this has been G4 has gotten way more attention than it probably deserves. And number two, it's also alienated a good portion of its fan base by doing this. So that's kind of like the general overview of the G4 Meltdown, if you guys want to take it away.
I mean, it's no secret that, you know, gamers are an extremely toxic bunch. They like to swear at each other and knock each other down and you know, it's just the way it is. I don't even play a lot of games anymore. I don't really have a lot of time to do it. But, you know, there's games out there that I just don't enjoy because I don't want to get cussed out and told I'm a big loser by a 12-year-old on the other end of the headset. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. It's weird. But as far as this Frost person goes, I haven't watched a lot of G4. I just don't. This whole thing kind of blew up in everybody's faces. But, you know, I did watch G4 back in the day on Attack of the Show. And, you know, I watched Chris Gore back in the day with his show and Olivia and all those guys. And it was a fun channel. They had a great time. They went to the conventions, they dressed up in their little outfits, they made fun of things, they reviewed things, they actually played the games that they reviewed, and when Frost can go on there and just rant about all this weird, woke bullshit, it's frustrating because, she sits there and she says stuff like, I'm not here for you to, basically jerk off to, which is true. Well, that's fine. I don't give a crap about that kind of stuff. But you know what? Olivia Munn and Morgan Webb were very attractive women, and that is a big reason why they were on G4 to begin with. People like to look at things that are easy on the eyes. It's what sells. It's what makes your channel more interesting. You get where I'm going here. Sex sells, people. You don't want to have some little boy looking woman who looks like she's the descendant of the Jeff Bridges from Dumb and Dumber coming on there covered in tattoos, lecturing you about things that you're into. It's never going to work.
Well, I think the latter point is.
Well, also the fact that she was lecturing people is like Olivia Munn was not here for you to oogle at, where she quite obviously was, and yes. all the clips people have been pulling of Olivia Munn doing overtly sexual things in order to get ratings just completely negates all of Frost's arguments. It's hilarious, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's kind of fits her theme then, ranting and screaming about matters on which she knows nothing.
Yep. And the rest of the crew at G4 aren't helping matters either, because they're all doubling down on this thing. You got Sessler over there, who is another part of this problem that's blown up over the last couple of days, who's he's basically got a really bad case of Trump derangement syndrome still, and he's telling people, that he hopes his family dies, and he's going to sit here and drink his bubbly drinks because they're Trump supporters, because they're Republicans. It's insane. They're absolutely they're driving their fan base away.
Yeah, they're more toxic than their fan base.
They're absolutely toxic, and I don't think the channel is going to be around much longer. I really don't, because it's just the way it is, and it's unfortunate because it could have been something that's really cool, but they went woke. And you know what they say, you go woke, you go broke. And that's just.
And it's not because of a particular political outlook. It's because people watch this stuff to get away from the politics. Right. They don't want to be lectured to and preached to. They just want to talk about video games. And there's so many better video game channels out there on YouTube than G4, because back in the day, G4 was the only thing on TV, right? That dealt with video game stuff. Now on YouTube, they're competing in an arena that has long established content creators who are far better. Like Alana Pierce. Hello. She's gorgeous, but she's also a hardcore gamer. She knows her stuff. She's interesting to listen to. She's way more knowledgeable than this Frost girl could ever possibly.
Well, not only that, they're coming to the game when this is old news, right? PewDiePie he's been around for how many years now? And that's kind of where he started, was gaming and stuff on here. They're coming into an arena where they're definitely the smaller fish in a bigger pond.
Not only that, they have been away for so long, that they can't even be grandfathered in.
No,
they may have been cutting edge at the time when there was something else, but now everyone who has a gaming channel is probably better informed.
You want to hear something funny, Andre? You want to hear something funny?
Go for it.
So the company behind this relaunch of G4, the company that acquired the rights to G4 in order to relaunch it, it's owned by a guy that Olivia Munn was dating, and she convinced him to do this. And then once he did it, she broke up with him and went with John Mulaney and had a baby.
So it was just oh, you bastard! I'm gonna get you now. I'm gonna get you stranded with this albatross, and then I'm gonna dump you.
Something like that. And to answer Zach's question here, I don't think this was planned. I think
half of it was.
I think Frost kind of took it upon herself to do this, and then once she did it, they kind of ran with it. But this reeks of a publicity stunt.
Here's the thing: is I agree with part of that. Matts, both of you. I don't know how to address you both, but we got too many Matts. But watching the video a few times now, it's pretty clear there is a point where she goes into the scripted part, because you know, like we brought up Chris Gore a few times. He's the only reason I knew this was being relaunched until like recently, because most people didn't even know that this thing was a thing until this happened, right? So that's why I agree with you a little bit on the publicity stunt side of things. Because he told us a few months back, yeah, they're relaunching it and I have nothing to do with it. And we're like, oh, well, you know, so much for that deal. You know, but like
thanks for letting us know, we don't have to care.
Exactly. Like, but like, so like watching the video when she first busts into the Olivia Munn stuff, that feels like that's her going off the cuff. Because then you have the other guy saying, oh, I didn't think we were going to go there, but we're going there. And then she jumps into the review part. I think the review part was scripted, but the part prior to that where she goes off about Olivia and Morgan were her own words. Whether it's her just shit eating at her from like, you know, fan mail saying you're not as hot as these two or whatever.
Not as bangable.
Exactly. Well, that's the thing.
I don't think that she got any fan mail. I think that she had to look long and hard to find that.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, my point being is like a lot of people were probably coming at her. They maybe even not a lot of people, but maybe 2 or 3 people said that to her.
That's all it takes.
And or it could even be something like, you know, they kind of hinted that she's not as popular as these other people, so they might be letting her go. So she did this to make herself unfireable at this point. It could have been a many number of things, but in the bottom end of it, it doesn't matter. Like, even though Matt pointed out, like, yeah, Olivia and Morgan, they did do a lot of jokes and goofy stuff for the male gaze or male humor or whatever you want to call it. But at this point, nobody is expecting this anime looking character to do any of that stuff, right? She is the one who's putting this out there. Yep. Nobody ever once said, well, why doesn't she do the skits like Olivia Munn used to do? Nobody's asking that. Nobody's expecting her to come out in a bikini. Nobody's expecting her to look anything like those individuals. She is putting that on us. She is the one who's out there going, oh, I'm sorry, I'm not as bangable. It's like, well, I'm sorry, I wasn't thinking about banging you until you just brought it up. And she's the one who, like you said, lecturing us for no good reason. And in the end, it's just like, you're the one making it about something nobody else is.
I'm certainly not going to go want to buy her bathwater when she bottles it up. So, you know.
I also think that the bulk of the criticism levied against her is her lack of knowledge about gaming in general. Like she's just not a good commentator. She's not a good analyst. She's not.
Well, I feel like maybe that's where they were getting heat from, is that they were getting heat that they weren't actually playing these games. And this whole thing was them admitting to that, and nobody's paying attention to that part now because everybody's paying attention to the whole unbangable part, right? Because she basically flat out said, no, we don't play these games. It's scripted, basically, in so many words.
Yeah, that's what I thought was the most amazing thing about it, is that she's admitting that the reviews are pre-scripted. Can you, like, when does that ever happen? Like, can you imagine that anyone in our sphere coming out and like saying, well, the review that we're known for, there's actually a team behind it that's writing them. It's like,
which, when we're doing our standard videos, yes, there is a team behind them, but I don't help Andre write his review for a movie or TV show. That's his choice. Like, that's his words. That's his feelings.
Yeah, exactly. And like, but in this case, she's like open about it. Like, yeah, no, there's a team doing all this. And like, the only time is like when we say that I feel that, and that's probably when she's going to say something stupid. Yeah, that's her. And anything informed in the review, that was a team behind it. And again, that goes to show that they're completely out of touch, every single one of them, because that's not how you do it on YouTube.
The funny thing is,
you have to be authentic, and she just showed they're not authentic.
The funny thing is, no one knew who the hell she was until she went on this rant.
Yeah, and now we all know if frustrated.
I think that she's gotten way more benefit out of this than the G4 channel has.
Sure,
definitely. They've been dumping subs since this.
I mean, but they're blocking everybody. I heard that all their chats are like a mess now, and that's what's going to happen.
Some of the Geeks and Gamers, and a few others were in there, and they were blocking them. And I think that's what she was referring to when she's like, "I see you in the chat."
And it's just, I don't know, man. I don't see good things in G4's future. I know this has made me give zero craps about G4. I'm not going to bother watching their shows. I'll find some other buddy. I'm sorry, I can't talk. I'll find somebody else's YouTube channel, like Matt said, is probably more informative and better and more entertaining out there.
This is a big
there's a
extension
lot
of
of them.
Gamergate is what it really is. Let's be real.
Sure.
And I think Gamergate would have went a completely different direction had it a situation like Comicsgate, to where it's easier for people to make, like, if you would have had these groups of people that were ousted just going out there and saying, fuck it, we're just going to go make our own video game. Then if they had that ability, that would have been like, things would have probably turned out much differently. Like we're seeing with Comicsgate now, because the proof is in the pudding, right? Like DC and Marvel can't sell anything, but yet you got all these indie creators out there who are doing a great job. So like, it's just, I think that's kind of where it could have went differently, and we have the situation where
I feel like Ethan's doing fine out there selling his $25 comic books.
That's my point. Exactly. Yeah,
it's good.
Like, I think Gamersgate would have went a totally different way had the creators and all the people that were involved with that been able to do their own thing. Like it was too controlled, and it's kind of like the situation some of us are stuck in now. Is like, people say to us like, oh, you guys just go out there and gripe about TV shows and movies all day. Why don't you do something about it? It's like, do you realize the difficulty it is to get a movie or a television show made? Like, it's impossible compared to like something like a comic book or a book. Like I can sit down and do it myself, as compared to like, if I want to make a movie, I got to have all kinds of different things to be able to do that, especially, to make it on the level of Hollywood. I mean, we're getting there. I'm not saying that these things aren't on the horizon, but I think the gaming situation, like with G4 and all this business, they're old news, right? I think that's where they're at. I think they're jealous that channels like Geeks and Gamers are infinitely more popular than they'll ever be able to be now, and stuff like that. And that's really what this boils down to.
Yeah, I think so too. Absolutely. But with that, I have to be off here.
Okay.
So I just want to say thanks for having me.
Thanks, Andre, for coming in.
Yeah. All right. Take care, everyone.
I think our time's about up anyway. We're at our 90 minutes that we like to do. So, Andre, thank you very much for popping in. It was an honor to have you on the show. And same to you, Tom. What do you got going on the rest of the day? Anything? Taking a day off? What's up?
I ended up double booking myself this morning, so I'm not sure what's going on. So
popular man.
I was supposed to be on another show at the same time, but we got that all worked out. So
that's good.
Other than that, I have no idea what's going on yet for the rest of the day. Usually we do on Saturdays, Script Doctor and I will get together and we do a show called A-rated B movies and B-rated A movies.
I like that show.
I'm not sure what we're going to do today, so but we'll see if we get one this afternoon. We haven't even discussed it yet, so maybe I'll do that later.
Okay. I don't think we have any more topics for us today, right, Matthew? So I just want to say really quick, thank you for everybody in the chat for showing up today. Tom, you brought the fans with us. We were like in the mid-30s, which is, I think, the most I've ever had.
I wasn't even able to broadcast today, so I'm surprised they showed up.
So it was awesome. Good chats, man. Good chats.
And we also want to tell everyone in the chat, don't forget to give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. We're trying to get 200 5-star ratings so that we can be officially accredited as movie reviewers on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yes.
So every review helps with that. If you just tell one friend of yours to go and do that, it would help out us tremendously. You can just go to saltynerd.com/rate. Gives you a link to go right to the Apple Podcast website and leave us a little rating. You don't even have to write a review, although reviews are welcome. Just need to rate us 5 stars, and that helps us out a lot.
That's all they got to do. They just got to hit the stars.
Yep.
You don't have to write nothing or anything. Nice.
I mean, like if they want to write a review, that helps, but they just have to hit the stars.
Cool. Okay.
Andre's got to get on that stuff.
Are you guys on iTunes?
Well, Robert Meyer Burnett told us about this program that puts your podcast up on a bunch of different places, and it helps handle all the monetization and all that business. And, we've discussed the same thing about getting accredited so we could do the Rotten Tomatoes thing. We're like, why not? Might as well throw our hat in there.
I think for YouTubers, you need like 100,000 subs in order to...
Which we've got, yeah.
Yeah. So you could probably already just...
Well, I wasn't sure if you needed that plus the other or not.
Well, for podcasts, you need a certain amount. You need to have been operating for a certain number of years. You need to have a certain number of reviews, and basically we have all the requirements except the reviews. I think for YouTubers, it's a different set of qualifications, and it's just like 100,000 subs. So you guys could probably just already submit for that.
Yeah, you just have to tell Andre what he's got to do.
Yeah, and for our Discord, if you guys just want to go to saltinerdiscord.com, that'll take you right to our Discord so you can participate in the community and all that good stuff. And also every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on YouTube, we are releasing new, edited, produced content. So be sure to check that out. We're doing Doctor Who this month. So every Monday we release a new Doctor Who episode for our Patreons. And then Wednesdays, we're going to be starting doing Peacemaker, our coverage of that. And this Friday, we've got probably the episode that's going to get us kicked off of YouTube.
Probably.
Where we talk about caveman movies, but it's not all about caveman movies. We're trying movies. Yeah, I have to convince Alex not to edit out all the good stuff because he has no sense of humor.
Yeah, you should have taken that one.
I might still. It depends on my time. Yeah. Tom, you want to edit for us? We can't pay anything, but
if I was able to, I would, but I'm trying to find some help right now editing myself.
Yeah.
Caveman movies next Friday, guys.
Yeah.
Premiere 10 a.m. I'll be hosting the chat as always. We do that every Friday morning. We do a premiere for the Friday show. So,
and we've also got an interview with James Madigan, who was the second unit action director for the TV show C, Snake Eyes, The Meg. What else did he do? He's doing the new Transformers movie right now. Basically, like any badass action scene you've seen in trailers, this guy has directed. It's really cool.
Look at us being all legit and stuff.
Yeah, we're gonna have his interview out very soon, either tomorrow or Tuesday. Depends on when I get it done. But he was a great interview. I really like talking to him, and it should be good.
So yeah, I think that's it, guys. Thanks for hanging out in the chat today, Tom. Again, thanks for stopping in. Tell Andre thank you again for us. Matthew, it's a pleasure as always.
Yep. All right, guys, stay salty, my friends. We'll see you next Saturday, same bat time, same bat channel.
Yep.
So long.